This is a short video on how to compare two waveforms, where one waveform is a recorded oscilloscope trace and one waveform is a result of a SIMETRIX SIMPLIS simulation. Previously, we showed how to import externally generated waveform data into the waveform viewer using the Edit Paste ASCII Data menu item. In this video, we will use the Edit, Copy, and Paste Selected Curve menu items to move waveforms from one graph or grid to another within the waveform viewer. Then once the two waveforms that we wish to compare are on the same grid in our graph window, we can use the Plot, Shift Selected Curve using Cursors menu item to shift the x-axis, in this case the time axis, of the imported oscilloscope waveform so that it will be easy to compare with the simulated waveform. Here I have two waveforms up and running. One here is the imported waveform, and on the other tab I have the simulated waveform. So if I want to compare these two, up in the upper left here in the edit menu, I have several commands. Up here we have cut, copy, and paste selected curves commands, and they're used for moving waveforms within the application. There's also copy ASCII data and paste ASCII data commands, which are used when we want to take the curve data and export it to an external application, such as a spreadsheet, or import it from the spreadsheet back into SIMETRIX SIMPLIS. In this case, we'll do copy selected curves. It'll ask us which curve. So I'll pick here the imported curve, which is the only one that we have up and running. I'll come over to the simulated curve, come up here to edit and do paste selected curves. And now that curve has been moved over so they're on the same grid. Now you'll notice that the scope wave shape actually starts at negative time, since whoever captured this data probably had the collection set up so that they would collect data before the trigger. So the first thing I'm going to do here is go up to Plot, Shift Selected Curves to 0, click OK, and I'll click on the imported waveform. Now the imported waveform shown here in green has been moved so that it starts at 0 also, but the wave shapes still don't line up. So what I want to do is take the imported waveform, let's say take this edge right here, grab that waveform and pull it over here to the simulated red waveform. So to do that, first thing I want to do is toggle the cursors on and off. And here we have two cursors. One is called the reference cursor, which is up here. The other one is called the A cursor, which is down here. So let's grab the A cursor and we will move that over to the green curve. That's the one that we want to move. You want to put the A cursor on the waveform that you want to move. And then I'll take the reference cursor and move that to the point that I want the A cursor to be moved to. I come up here to Plot, Shift Selected Curves using Cursors, click OK, and now the two curves line up. And let's zoom in on this a little bit and see they're pretty well lined up. If they weren't lined up exactly the way you liked, you can also come up here to Plot and Shift Selected Curves by value to move them a certain amount of time. This wraps up our short video on shifting the x-axis for curves in SIMETRIX SIMPLIS. We first moved the curves to the same grid using the Edit, Copy, and Paste Selected Curve menu items. We then used the Plot, Shift Selected Curves menu items to align our imported waveform with the simulation waveform.